Welcome to Biz Coach and Coffee, where our guests are experts, entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants that share tips, strategies, and tactics to help small business entrepreneurs grow their business for long-term success. Please welcome your host, Biz Coach Steve Feld.
Hello, I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld, and my goal is to stop business owners from suffering entrepreneurial depression and start making running their businesses much easier. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to crack multiple 6 and 7 figures without burning themselves out. Today, we have another great guest for you. We have Bryan, and Tara is an online course expert. So welcome, Tara.
Thank you. It's happy to be here.
Great. Well, the first thing is, how did you start? What got you into this?
Yeah, so I actually have been in the online course creation business for a long time. I took sort of the traditional route. I got a degree in education, and then very quickly decided that actually teaching kids was not my thing.
Yeah.
And so ended up in corporate and did corporate education, and then specifically e-learning, which really was, how do you teach people online and on demand? And so I have been doing that, in corporate. I started my own agency about 19 years ago. And then the last, maybe 6 or 7 years have really been helping entrepreneurs, business owners, and people who want to package their expertise, get their message out in the world online, in an online course, an online program, or whatever you want to call it.
Great. When you're helping them put these packages together, do you find that a lot of them are just, where do I even start?
Yeah, for sure. All the time. And, one of the biggest things is when you're an expert, you sort of forget what it's like to be a beginner, right? And so I talk about something called the expert conundrum, right? Which is like, you're at a level 9 or 10, your learners, your students are usually at like a 2 or a 3, maybe. And so it's overwhelming when you think about, how to get all the things out of your head to teach someone, but then how do you get everything out of your head and teach someone where they are, instead of starting from where you are, because they're two totally different things. And so I work with people all the time to kind of help them frame that. And the biggest tip I will tell you and your listeners right away is, if you focus on a problem to solve within your expertise, so much of that head gunk goes away, and it helps you focus on how to get it out of your head in a way that will help people.
Oh, that's a great point. I mean, I talk to business owners all the time. It's like, well, who's your target market? And that they say one thing, and then when we actually look at it, it could be something else. But then it's, what problems do they have, and how are you solving them? And I get a whole bunch of platitudes, and it's like, well, that's why your business isn't growing, because you're confusing to them, and you got to come to where they are.
Yep.
I think what you said.
And it's like, when you're out in the world, kind of sort of gaining authority, you have to show up as the expert. But when you're teaching people, you're actually showing up where they are, and you're helping guide them to a result. And it's two totally different things, actually. And so the trap that people most experts fall into is, I'm just going to give them all the things. I'm going to give them all the information and quantity and, all the things. That's what they're going to need. And they actually just need the fastest path to get to the result. They don't need all the things.
It's that verbal diarrhea. Everything.
Like, yeah.
And we as consumers are like,
Right. Well, because ultimately then what happens is people don't actually finish your courses, right? We have a huge problem right now in the industry where like 97% of people don't finish courses, and they don't finish courses because they're overwhelmed, because it's too much, and they can't actually get their problem solved, because the person who's created the course thinks that they have to put so much into it, instead of just what are the simple steps that somebody needs to get to be successful.
That's such a great point. I was speaking to a business owner yesterday. They wanted to create a landing page to start a funnel. And my first question is, what's the purpose of the funnel? And they were going on and on and on. And I go, if you can't answer it in one sentence, you don't have an idea, so don't even start it. And then after 20 minutes, they finally go, here's the idea. Okay, great. What is the result? What's their problem? Now we had to go to that.
Yep.
And that took another like hour. And it's like,
Yeah.
you got to focus this in, because we as consumers, we want an answer right away.
Mm-hmm.
You're making it so difficult, no one's going to even sign up.
Yeah, well, because people don't want to expend brain calories, right? Like it's just like you the more you have to think about what the result is and how to get there, the harder it is for somebody to actually do it.
Yeah, sign up for my 10-day course. You get an hour-long video every day. Would you, as a business entrepreneur, business person, would you do that?
Right.
And that's what they focus on, don't they? Instead of what's in it for me.
Yep. Yeah, because it's a common question I get all the time is how long should the videos be? How long should this topic be? And I said, well, how long do you need to teach the one thing that they need to get to the next step? Oh, well, I actually can teach that very quickly. Great. Then teach it quickly. And then they can get to the next step. How can you make it actionable for them? They don't need a 52-point thing. They need like the one thing that will get them to the next step. So then they can continue moving forward.
That's a great point. I mean, I just completed a 16-minute video, whole 16 minutes. It addresses 3 points, 3 problems, and a solution, detailed solution to each one that they can implement right now.
Yep.
So they don't need me to do it. It's enough information for them, as I would say, to be deadly, but they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why did it have it? And here I am trying to cut it down from 16 minutes.
Yep.
Like,
yep. Yeah. Well, and it's because like they don't need the history of the thing, right? Like they don't need all the kitchen sink information about it. They just need to know like what it is, why it's important, and how to do it. Like
that's it.
In a very simple framework, and then go do it and practice it and then move on. Yeah. Exactly. And the more people can do that, the more they can take action, the more they stay, and the more then they become your customers for life, which is a really important concept that we talk about, is how do you not only like acquire a customer, but bring them through your program in a way that makes them a customer for life, because that's where the magic happens in anyone's business. If they're creating an online course business.
Great. I'd like to get into that a little deeper. We're going to take a quick break from our sponsor, but we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Spotlight Books. Get your expert book completed in 30 days. If you don't have an expert lead magnet book about you and how you serve your market, then visit www.spotlight-books.com. Link is also in the show notes. Put a spotlight on your expertise.
Great. And we're back with Tara Bryan. We're talking about how to bring someone into your tribe, if you will, and nurture them through a process using courses. So tell us a little bit deeper about that. Why is that so beneficial for nowadays? Well, all business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches.
Yeah. Well, so the biggest thing is most of the time, and you know, I don't know about you, but sometimes with some of the big marketing and sales gurus out there, they say, just acquire customers, focus on getting customers in. The more you can spend, the better off you are getting all these people in. And that's awesome, right? We spend a lot of time doing that. We get customers in, but the biggest problem is like, oh crap, now I have a customer. Now what do I do with them? Right. And so what tends to happen is that, you have a course or you have a program or you have some way that you're fulfilling on what you've just sold, and you go ahead and you do that and they leave. And they either leave because they're not getting the results that you've promised, or they don't know what the next step is, right? Maybe they've gotten the results and they're super happy, but you don't have the next step for them. You don't have a way to continue working with them. And so they leave. So you've just spent all this time, effort, and money trying to acquire somebody, but you have no like specific path that you take your customer through to not only like engage them from day one, but keep them coming forever, right? Like become your raving fans, refer other people to you, and you keep actually making a difference and you keep helping them. And so, the very first step is really looking at like, okay, they've bought, now what? Like, do you go and like ghost them for the first couple of days when they become a customer? Or do you have a way that you bring them in, you make them feel comfortable, you nurture them, and you help them get started, you give them that path, right? Like my favorite is when somebody is like, well, what do you mean? Like, why would I have to onboard somebody? You're like, well, do they know how to get into your program? Do they
Right.
know how to navigate through your program? Do they know like when they should be going through your program? Oh no, I don't know. I haven't thought about any of those things. That's like a critical first piece, because then they're like, yes, I made the right decision. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to get going. Then the next thing is like, how do you keep them participating in action, right? Like you guys all know this because everybody's a busy, right? You may have the best intentions in the world, but if something's not screaming at you, just the other day, it was funny, actually, as a side note, I was like, okay, so who's screaming at me the loudest today that I have to help? Right? It's like, it's just sort of where I got to with the list that I had. But that's exactly what's happening with your people, right? Is like, are you getting in their, getting their attention so they participate, so they keep going? Because even though they want to solve their problem, like sometimes they don't actually take the steps to solve their problem. How do you help them through that? And then when they actually have gotten the result, how do you help them get the next result and then the next result? And that's like that's like the whole cycle. And it's so powerful to think through that. So you know that it's more than just like an online course. It's more than a program. It's like, how do you take somebody on that journey that helps them when they become a customer? So I don't know, Steve, like, I'm sure you deal with your customers about this, but like, do you know literally how expensive it is to acquire a customer versus keeping a customer? Like, it's like astronomically more expensive.
It is. That's one of those things that we call them ladders of ascension, pyramids, whatever you want to call it. It's how are you moving a client through your processes? Because you got to think that that course could have solved that one problem for them, but it actually created another problem for them. What is that problem and how are you solving the next problem? Keep them going. I mean, that's how you were talking about like the big gurus. Happens across the board. It's all good coaches, consultants, small business owners. They know this and they're like, great. I mean, one of mine is like leads with CPAs, because a lot of CPAs that don't do any marketing. So when we start doing marketing, they get leads in. I created a new problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
Solved one, created one. So now I have a solution for that one. So great, we handle that. Now we need more staff. I created another problem. I know how to solve it. It just goes on. And we think, well, once we solve our problems, we're done.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that's where it's a one and done kind of scenario, right? Like, It's like, oh, I'm just going to put a course out and, put it on autopilot and people will take it and it'll be great. Well, I mean, is that worth it? Because, you've just spent so much to acquire them.
Right.
What's that next step that they need to take? My favorite like aspiring course creators are the ones who have a course. It's successful. They have people coming in, but all of a sudden one day they wake up and they look in there and there's like content everywhere. Like all of a sudden it's gone from like a really nice organized path where people can get through it to this like hot mess full of, oh, I'll just put this in. I'll put this in. Oh, this would be helpful for them. Oh, I did this webinar over here. I'm going to just put that in. And then all of a sudden their learners are asking questions like, well, how do I go through this? And like, what's my first step? And like, is there somebody I can work with? Because this is so confusing. And then you've just lost the ability to help them because you've just like, quantity doesn't mean value, right? Value means like, can you take them the fastest version through what they need to be successful? And so it's always fun too when it like if your course has kind of gotten to that point where you're like, oh yeah, like I feel like I've put so many things in there, but maybe I need to go revisit.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I have these group modules and it's like, well, once you're done with one group, then it takes you to the next group because that's your next problem. And I've learned it's like, wait a minute, they're built for a specific person. Don't keep adding more bling to the car.
Yeah.
Because next thing you know, you can't recognize the car.
Yep.
So it's kind of like the car's built, just maintain it, tune it.
Yep. Yeah,
And
but I think that's like our natural tendency to want to give more.
oh yeah.
And so when we give more, it should be in activities or like cheat
Mhm.
sheets or different ways that we can help enhance the process, like templates or different things like that. More shouldn't just be more content, more videos, right?
Right.
Like you don't need to say the same thing 12 different ways and put 12 videos out there that you want people to watch. And then they get done with the 12 and they go, well, wasn't that just like the one thing? Like, why did I have to watch 12 hours of video? Because like now I don't know what's happening to my, it's like, yeah.
Oh yeah. I think we've all seen those courses.
Right. Yep.
Going, wonder why I'm watching the second video going, I'm still confused on the first video. And now the second video has me even more lost because they don't sync together and they're not solving the original problem I came here to solve.
Right. And then they get meandery and windy. And then you're like, I don't like, it's funny. I was auditing a course for a client and I literally was like 15 hours in and I went, I still don't really understand what they're trying to teach. Like, if you're 15 hours in and you're still like listening to the same kind of webinar kind of sales pitch and like the introductions and all those things, and they haven't actually gotten into the how, what are the steps to be successful, you've got a problem, right? Like I was like, I don't know if I can keep going. I was like, I think I'm out.
That's a good.
And I'm an overachiever. And I was like, I'm pretty sure nobody else was going to get 15 hours in before there was a point.
That's it. And I've known some coaches who created a program and they've been actually using the exact same program for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it's still successful, it's to the point, it's concise, and people get through the entire course, but she has something right after that.
Yep.
And she happily admits, it's like, I've made sure I didn't have to update it. So I didn't say a certain social media platform because who knows what it'll be in 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
So she did these things knowing that she wanted to create it because she spent 6 months creating the course and says, I'm going to get everything out of it. And I think she said she's on 14 years with the same course.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is a strategic course thinker right there.
Very strategic. And I've gone through her course and it's like, ooh, it's good. She put some serious thought into it. And I can see why it took her a while to build it and what her point was.
Yeah. But that's such a great lesson, again, because I feel like everyone feels like they have to always change it, right? Like it always has to be changed. It always has to be different. And it doesn't. It can be the same thing for 14 years. And like if you have, so as entrepreneurs, we're all very creative, right? We all like to create things. Like if you have the need to create, then to your point, like do the next step and create that and keep creating the new steps that follow through, but don't like recreate the same course over and over again because you have a need to create. Like I think we've all fallen into that trap.
Oh, I've heard that. And I know my very, very first course, my coach goes, you need to go back and redo it. And I go, redo it or just make a whole new one?
Yeah.
One or the other.
Right. Yeah.
And I decided to scrap that course and build something that now I can build upon because I learned my lesson. But it would have been nice to like, wait a minute, build it and then build the next thing above it. So you don't have to redo things.
Right. Well, and one of the most powerful things that we do is that we help you create your framework first. Mm-hmm. So you have the whole framework, like, where is somebody starting? What's the result or transformation that they want? And then what are the steps that they need to take? If you create that first, then your course is very focused and specific because you can get through what, not only does it help you because it cuts down your recording time significantly, but it's focused on the right thing at each piece. And so when you do it that way, just like that woman who's had her course for 14 years, you can do it that way because you're starting with the right foundation. You're not just like showing up and recording videos, right? That's when you run into trouble because then it invariably ends into, some sort of Franken course is actually what we call it. It's actually a technical term.
Yeah, Franken course is a good definition for it. Or it's a spider web. It's like it doesn't follow a flow.
Right. Yep.
Well, great. I know we're almost out of time, but I know I'm a giver. I know you're a giver. Is there something you can possibly give our audience to help them out in their business?
Yeah, I would love that. So actually, this podcast is very timely. We are launching a Gamify My Course camp, because what adult does not want to go to camp this summer? I don't know about you, but like all my kids are at camp all the time, and I'm like, I want to go to camp. Like, why don't I get to go to camp? So we're creating a Gamify My Course camp, which allows people to learn what the key steps are for adding gamification into your course structure, your program, your online experience, whatever it is. It's a 5-day free training. And I believe, Steve, like if you want to put it in the show notes, we have a whole link to be able to join that. But that is what I would love to have everybody be able to take, because the biggest thing is, how do you help your people that you bring in be successful? And one way to do that is to reward and recognize them for hitting certain milestones throughout the time that they're your customer. And that's really what we're going to focus on during the camp.
Oh, excellent. Yes, we will have that link in the show notes. So please take advantage of Tara's offer. Start utilizing this material, bring it into your business, and help your business grow.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're going to be doing archery practice, obstacle courses, scavenger hunts, tug of war. It's going to be amazing. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nothing like virtual archery, right?
100%. It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
That's it. And no one really gets hurt.
Right. That's an important point, actually.
Yeah, there's our selling point right there.
Yeah, right. I haven't used that in my marketing, but I'm going to use that from now on. Like, you won't get hurt doing archery.
Yeah, in our classes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, X, I just want to say thank you very much for joining us and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. And it is so true about what you're saying about courses. I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm happy someone's out there helping business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches with this.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. It was great to be on today.
Thanks. Well, I hope everyone had a great time. I just want to say this is Biz Coach Steve Feld, to your business success.
We hope you enjoyed today's topic. If you'd like to discuss how you can apply these strategies in your business, let us know. This episode is sponsored by Spotlight Books. Get your own expert book written about you in 30 days. Set yourself apart from the competition. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Also, feel free to give us your comments. We look forward to hearing from you on Biz Coach and Coffee.